Okay, so we're doing a deep dive into this whole precision agriculture thing, right? And I gotta say, it gets pretty complicated. Like, I tried growing tomatoes last year.
Oh, yeah. How'd it go?
Total disaster. I mean, I figured sunshine, water, how hard could it be?
Right, right.
But clearly, there's way more to it than I realized. Kind of makes you appreciate how complex farming really is.
Yeah, for sure. And it's only getting more complex these days, right? Like
Yeah.
the old school way of just eyeballing your fields and hoping for the best. Those days are long gone. Now it's all tech, all data, all this precision agriculture.
Which honestly can sound a little intimidating.
Definitely can.
So we're going to try to break it down, starting with this company, Farmadot. They're using a whole bunch of data to like totally change how we even think about land.
And a big part of that is this idea of land classification. Basically, it's
Hmm.
like, how do we figure out what each piece of land is best suited for? Kind of like organizing a giant library.
Okay, but instead of books, it's dirt and crops and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fields, forests, wetlands. Everything has a place and
Yeah.
everything has a purpose.
Race. And Farmadot, they get really specific about this, right? I was looking at their stuff. And they have all these categories of farmland, like prime farmland, unique farmland.
Hmm.
Sounds kind of official. So what's the actual difference? Does it have to have like a little plaque or something to be prime?
Well, not exactly, but it is about understanding what that land can do, what it's best suited for.
Hmm.
Some land is amazing for those water-hungry crops, like rice, while other land might be perfect for something that's more drought-resistant. Prime farmland usually means you've got those ideal conditions, good soil, enough rainfall, that sort of thing.
So the best of the best.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
But unique farmland doesn't mean it's B-day land
Yeah.
or useless, right?
All right.
It just means you got to be more strategic. Maybe focus on specialty crops that thrive in those specific conditions.
Okay, so it's not just about slapping a label on it. It's about knowing what you've got and how to work with it.
Exactly. And that's where the data comes in. A farmer can use this information to choose the right crops for their land, to know how much water to use, even to predict how the weather might affect their harvest. It's all about working with nature, not against it.
Which, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially with all the talk about sustainability these days. We can't just be wasting resources anymore. But how does this actually work in practice? I mean, Farmanaut mentions using satellites and AI. That sounds pretty high tech for a bunch of dirt.
Oh, it definitely is high tech. So picture this. A satellite way up in space is taking pictures of the farmland, right?
Right.
But these aren't just pretty pictures.
Right.
These pictures get analyzed by AI, artificial intelligence, and that AI can pick up on things that, honestly, our human eyes would probably miss.
Like what kind of things?
Well, let's say a certain patch of the field needs more nitrogen. The AI can actually detect subtle changes in the color of the leaves that tell us that.
Wait, seriously, it
Yeah.
can tell just by looking. Like, oh, that plant over there needs a little more fertilizer.
Yep. It's pretty incredible what they can do with this technology these days. And that's just one example. They can also use infrared imagery to figure out if the plants are stressed because they need more water.
Hmm.
They can even predict how much of a crop you're going to get based on how healthy the plants look from space.
Okay, that is seriously impressive. So instead of just walking the fields and hoping for the best, farmers can get like real-time updates on what's going on down to the individual plant.
Exactly. It's almost like having a team of experts constantly monitoring your crops.
Yeah.
But instead of experts, it's these super smart algorithms crunching data 24/7.
Okay, that is amazing. But does it actually work? I mean, what about things like clouds? What if it's a cloudy day and the satellite can't even see the field?
That's a great question. And you're right, cloud cover can be a problem for satellite imagery. Even Farmanaut says their system isn't perfect.
Right.
But, they're working on ways to get around that, like developing new technologies that can see through the clouds, or combining data from multiple sources so you're not relying on just one satellite image.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. And what about, I don't know, it seems like one tiny little pixel in a satellite image could be representing like a whole bunch of different plants, right?
Right.
Especially on a smaller farm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
You're thinking about the resolution of the image, and that's something they're always trying to improve.
Hmm.
The higher the resolution, the more detail you can see, the more precise the data.
So it's all a work in progress, but
But the potential is huge EE.
it really is. It's like we're not just talking about helping farmers grow more food, we're talking about like the fate of the planet, right?
It's true. This tech, it has huge EE implications for how we deal with some of these global problems. I mean, imagine being able to predict, like really accurately, how climate change is going to mess with how much food we can grow around the world.
Yeah.
That kind of information, it could help us get ready for food shortages, figure out how to use our resources better, maybe even help us, lessen the impact of climate change.
Okay, now that is what I'm talking about. We're
Right.
talking about using data to like solve humanity's biggest problems. But okay, let's zoom in for a second. Let's say I'm at the grocery store, right? In the future, am I going to be able to just like scan a QR code on my lettuce and see exactly how it was grown, like how much water they used on it, thanks to all this fancy tech?
It's definitely possible. We're already seeing people wanting to know more about where their food comes from.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People care about how it was produced, what it did to the environment, all that. And this kind of precision agriculture, it can actually give you those details.
So it's like instead of just organic or whatever, now my lettuce has got like a whole resume.
Grown with exactly 1.2 gallons of water, fertilized with pinpoint accuracy thanks to a satellite.
Exactly. And it's not just about like making the label look fancy for the shoppers.
Hmm.
Think about all the waste we could eliminate. If we can say, okay, this field's going to produce this much food, then we can reduce spoilage, we can plan better transportation routes. All that stuff adds up.
Less waste, less pollution, everybody wins. Right. It's about connecting the dots between the farm, the store, and your dinner plate in a way that just wasn't possible before.
Okay, you've convinced me. This is way bigger than just like tractors with a GPS. But it makes you wonder though, right? All this talk about data, who actually owns all this information?
Oh, now you're getting into the really big questions.
And how do we make sure it's used for good? I
Yeah.
mean, data can be powerful, but it can also be.
It can be dangerous in the wrong hands, for sure. That's something we need to be very, very careful about as this technology keeps developing.
It's almost like we're talking about making agricultural data accessible to everybody.
Exactly. Democratizing the data, that's a good way to put it. It's not just for, scientists or big corporations. It's for the farmers. It's for the people buying the food.
And that's got to be a good thing, right?
It could be huge especially for those smaller farms,
Yeah,
even in those countries where they don't always have the latest and greatest tech.
yeah, yeah.
Give them the same info, the same insights as those big agribusinesses. That could really even things out.
Yeah.
Help them grow more food, make a better living.
Hmm.
It's a win-win.
Okay, so we're talking about potentially solving hunger, fighting climate change. That's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders. Like, it's not enough to just have the data, right? It's got to be used for the right reasons.
Get it? It's
This-
technology, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
And any tool can be misused, right?
Right.
So it's up to us, all of us, to make sure we're using this stuff responsibly, ethically, that we're really putting it to work for everyone's benefit.
So it's not just about fancy satellites and algorithms. It's about having the tough conversations, making sure we're using this tech to help humanity,
Yeah.
not the other way around.
Exactly. Don't forget the human element in all of this.
Because behind all those numbers, those data points, those are real people.
That's right. Farmers, families, communities.
Yeah.
We're all connected by food. Always have been, always will be.
Wow, when we started the step dive, I thought I was just going to learn about some fancy new tractors or something. But this has really been eye-opening. Like the future of agriculture, it's about so much more than I ever imagined.
It really is an exciting time to be paying attention to food and farming.
No doubt about it. And a huge thanks to you for taking this deep dive with us. You've given us a lot to think about.
Happy to do it.
And everyone listening, next time you sit down for dinner, maybe take a second to, I don't know, think about everything that went into getting that food to your plate, all the technology, the hard work, the people. It's pretty amazing. And until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep exploring this wild world we live in.